Every day you hear industry experts screaming about volume of work that one needs to put out just to be noticed and possibly make a mark. More means more, quantity over quality, post your work every day are the slogans that are 2 seconds away from being tattooed on the experts' foreheads. With all this lingering pressure, we see artists and creatives producing incredible amounts of output on a daily basis, and all I can think of is how. When do you have the time to have those human experiences that later turn into art? When do you have time to think about and process these experiences that later turn into stories or visions of your work? And finally, and most importantly, is what you're delivering to the audience true and honest? We have this, what seems like a never-ending pool of ideas we can extract from, that is called social media, and we are encouraged to take inspiration from that. However, it seems to me that we have started to just regurgitate someone else's ideas simply because they worked for them in terms of visibility and numbers. At the same time, we hear people talk about being authentic and true to yourself. So how do we strike that balance here? Creativity is a muscle, and like any other muscle in our bodies, to cultivate it, one needs to stimulate it on a regular basis. Hence why a lot of artists, creatives, writers, etc. practice their craft every day. They write a page, compose a section of a piece, start a sketch, write a verse, whatever that is. It's the consistent practice that occasionally results in making amazing work. And this is where I think this expectation came about. Since we already make something, whether that's good or bad, every day, that can be an opportunity to turn it into content. Perfect. Artists are now forced to be entrapped in this never-ending cycle of continuous oversharing of their demos, sketches, drafts, and so on. However, what is not mentioned by these experts, most likely because they're not creatives themselves, is that most of the time, the artist needs time and space to develop their work. Just to capture the idea, one needs distance from all the distractions and outside expectations. But also, when you capture a great idea, you need a headspace to process it, dive deeper into it, to explore it, and etc. On top of that, the fear of missing out on the opportunities forces people to just post anything, just to maintain the illusion of relevance. As a result, we have an entire group of overworked and overwhelmed artists sharing something that's underdeveloped and unfinished. Sometimes we just don't have anything to say, so we consume other creative work to get the creative juices flowing. You would tell yourself, maybe if I just absorb a lot of stuff from other creators on the internet and not just mindless scrolling, but deliberately look for people who are creative and they share a story, then I will get inspired to do my own thing. Would I go sit down and start creating right after I consumed this content that's complete, polished, and packaged? 95% of the time, no. Even if the ideas were great and inspiring, I find that I still need time to process them in order for them to become mine. Not in a copyright sense, but filtered through my lens, my perspective, and experience, which would then lead to authentic work. On top of that, since what we see on social media is curated by the mighty algorithm, what you're being fed is the same kind of videos and content in general that majority of people receive. This leads to ideas, execution, and delivery becoming arguably similar. I'm sure you've seen a trend pop up and then it seems that everyone is doing this new thing now. And then it goes. And then something else comes up. And the cycle continues. The external pressures combined with short turnaround time and influences from social media have undoubtedly changed the way artists create these days. Since we're not spending much time on an idea, we either do not explore it enough or go for an easier concept to reproduce. In music, this specifically leads to similar themes for songs like love and breakups, which are obviously universal. But even the language used to express these states and feelings is rather limited. I'm not saying we don't need love songs anymore, but we could possibly explore other human experiences just a little more. Generic topics and themes allow for a quick reproduction simply because we have lots of examples of what works and what doesn't right on our feed. As a result, exploration and discovery has been put on a back burner and has become not a worthwhile pursuit. Following the music expert opinions, we then create songs that have hooks in the first 5 seconds, a particular formulation when it comes to structure, melodic lines, arrangement, and production. On top of that, these days we have tools and technology to help us streamline the process of creation. Specifically, from a musician's perspective, music software is much easier to operate than, let's say, recording on tape. It also allows to correct mistakes and mishaps and etc. So you don't have to redo the take, and whether that's cheating or not, that's a different discussion. But when you begin to use something like MIDI presets, where all you need to do is drag and drop in an already prepared MIDI chord sequence, put a sound on it, and that's now your song, I wonder how much of this is actually yours. Even if you play those same chords yourself, there will be some level of authenticity and exploration simply because of how you play them, maybe voice them differently, explore different articulations, dynamics, and etc. All of these and similar tools are promoted to help us create faster and get out of the creative rut. But what they actually do is rob us from our own creativity and exploration, and we need that to find our own voice. The crisis of authenticity, in conjunction with formulaic approach to creativity, has left the creative world in a bit of a mess right now. Outside expectations and pressures have led artists to look for ways to cope with the circumstances that they have found themselves in. Some, in order to keep up with the growing demand, go for the quick-to-reproduce, formula-driven path, while others, who do not wish to lose that connection with their art and themselves, take their time to develop their work. Now, there are exceptions on both sides. I'm not trying to put a blank statement here. However, each artist has to make a decision on what path is the right one for them. So here's my question to you. Do you want to contribute to this ever-expanding noise that is the feed? Or do you want to build some sort of legacy that has depth and can stand on its own?